Hey, it's your old buddy, the Tenderloin guy. I have two special guests with me today. I have,
Mrs. Tenderloin, hello.
otherwise known as Holly, and if
Holly.
yes, that's right. And if you look right over my shoulder, you'll see Sophie, the Wonder Cat, laying up on the back of my chair.
Watching the fish.
She's watching the fish. So today we're wrapping up dry January. This has been a really interesting journey. I just finished a bunch of non-alcoholic beer reviews. Some I loved, some I liked, some were just okay. We're going to finish up with something interesting today. Non-alcoholic wine. De-alcoholized wine.
Yeah, why don't you tell them a little bit about that? Because I didn't realize the process. What did you find out?
So I found out the process of doing this is they not brew. Is brew? That's not the right term for wine, right?
No.
They do the wine like usual, but then, and each winery is different, but it may be reverse osmosis, it may be some other, but they take the alcohol out. So it is made like regular wine, but then de-alcoholized. A lot of science goes into it. This is a Cabernet
Sauvignon.
Thank you. I'm
You're
not good.
welcome.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
That's okay.
By Ariel. And we found this at Total Wine and More on the north side of Indianapolis. Do you remember how much this bottle was?
It may have been $7.99. It was under $10. I know that for sure.
So not very expensive.
Mm-hmm. And I've never had de-alcoholized wine either. This will be a first for me too. I sell wine, but this is a different take on it. So I'm excited to try something new.
It is. So Holly knows wine. I know absolutely nothing about wine. I am a complete newbie. I have nothing to compare this to, but you'll be able to compare it to
Sure.
full alcohol wine.
Mm-hmm. And specifically Cabernet Sauvignon. And I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, but I have had some training and I have gotten some education over the past few months on wine, so this will be a lot of fun.
So very excited about trying this. I'm going to put you on the spot just for a second. I love the story you tell about your father, who is responsible for your adventurous cooking and dining and so on, but what he said about wine.
Yeah, we went to a cooking class one time, and we had just such a wonderful time together, tasting food, drinking wine, but it was a regular, run-of-the-mill weeknight, and I was going over to his house to have dinner, and I think it may have been something as simple as ramen noodles. I mean, it was not very adventurous at all, but he brought a bottle of wine to the table. And I said, well, what's the special occasion? You automatically think someone brings a bottle of wine, special occasion. Well, what he said is that opening a bottle of wine and sharing it with a friend or family or whoever, whether you have food or not, it adds a touch of elegance to the occasion. So it can be every day. It can be simple. But when you add some wine to it, it makes it extra special. And I've always kind of carried that with me over the years. And when I started marketing wine for Traveling Vineyard, that came to mind just so potently. It just came right into my mind as a memory. And I share that a lot when I do wine tastings. So
I love that story. So before we pour, let's tell them about what glasses. As I've done this with my beer tastings.
This is fun too.
I love telling about where we get our glasses from. Holly, what do you have there?
So I have one from Turtle Run Winery down in Corden, Indiana, and we were down there a couple of years ago and got to go sample the wine and see the vineyard and actually go back into the room where they ferment the grapes and everything, and it was really a lot of fun, very educational and interesting.
And mine is from the Grinder Switch Winery in Tennessee. Grinder Switch, the hometown of none other than Minnie Pearl. We were down there for the National Banana Pudding Festival and visited Minnie Pearl's hometown, and there they have a winery there. So
the Grinder Switch Winery is so cool. I remember this so vividly because you drive into the winery, and as you are driving in, there are fence rows, and they are covered with Catawba grapes, which is a very popular grape, especially in that part of the country, and they grow so well there, and that's what the winery uses in a lot of their wines is the Catawba grapes. And you're driving through, and we went to the winery, did the tour and everything, and we asked about the grapes, and they said, oh yeah, you can just grab one off the vine if you want. And I was like, oh, what a cool experience. We get to go try the wine, the final product, but then you get to see where it comes from. You get to try the origin of the wine, which I thought was I just got the biggest kick out of that. I thought that was really cool.
It was an awesome experience. So let's pour the wine, and since I'm going to let you pour it because this is your forte, wine.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. We're just going to do a little 2 or 3 ounce pour here. We don't need much, especially because we also have some food to go with it. A red Cabernet Sauvignon. It goes with so many different foods. Steak is always a good choice, but we're going to go with the classic Italian food with this cab, and we have some leftover pizza from yesterday, so we're going to enjoy some of the food that goes with it. Now, when you go to taste the wine, you don't just want to pour it in the glass and drink it. There's a process to it. First of all, I will tell you that the red wine, typically people drink their red wine too warm and their white wine too cold. There's a nice sweet spot of temperature that makes a huge difference in the flavor when you experience a wine. So what I did is I chilled this for a while, but then before we did the setup for the video, I brought it out of the refrigerator and I let it warm up for about a half an hour. So we wanted to raise the temperature just a little bit. If you drink it too warm, to me, it tastes flat, almost like you're drinking cardboard. If you can put that into a description about the texture and the flavor, it's very flat. It doesn't taste very alive at all because you speak. I speak of wine as if it's a living thing, and it kind of is because it's got so much complex science into creating this bottle of wine. So it's something that I think about when I go to drink it. So there are 4 S's to tasting wine. The first one we're going to experience is to see the wine. So you want to hold the wine up to the light. We have a lot of light coming in here so you can see this is not a very clear wine at all. It's very opaque because it's very dark, and it's got a beautiful deep red color. I love to notice that. So we're going to engage all the senses here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to sniff it. What do you smell when you sniff that? Anything specific? There are no wrong answers, by the way.
I smell fruit.
Okay. That's makes a lot of sense. I smell a little bit of black pepper, actually, and maybe some spice, but it's very subtle. The other thing you're going to do when you pour the wine into the glass, you see it, you sniff it, you swirl it. And doing the swirling is not just because it looks cool to swirl the wine in the glass. The wine has been sitting in a bottle. It's been all cooped up. It wants to breathe. It wants to be free, and when you incorporate air into the wine, that also changes the flavor. So swirling it has an effect on it that will enhance the taste of the wine. So then the last and the most delightful part is to sip it. So here we go, Ariel Cabernet Sauvignon. Cheers. That's really good.
Okay. I expected that this was going to be grape juice. It's not.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not. It's dry.
Mm-hmm.
It is really dry.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's really dry because it's smooth. It has a smooth texture, has a smooth flavor, but compared to juice,
Right.
it is dry.
Right.
Absolutely. There's not a lot of sweetness. And when I taste it, we were talking about what we smelled when we took a sniff of it. One thing that I didn't expect to taste were like a black currant type flavor, a little bit of jamminess, if that makes any sense, like
It
fruit
is.
jam. Does that
Yes,
make sense?
absolutely.
Does that
Holy
description
cow. Yes.
ring with you? But no, it's very good. I am completely impressed by this. Totally blown away. Did not anticipate that at all.
Now I can't get the fruit jam picture out of my
For
mind
sure.
because it really does taste like that.
Yeah, but it's not sweet. It tastes like a sugar-free grape, but it's more. It's not just sugar-free grape juice. I mean, there are more uh, complex flavors going on, more than just your average juice.
I like this.
Mhm.
I'm actually kind of blown away because wine has never appealed to me in any way.
Right.
But since we're doing dry January, I wanted to try this.
Mhm.
Now I don't know if this is the right term or not, but this really seems to have some nice body. It's got some body in my mouth. It's not, a couple of the
It's
beer.
not too thin.
It's not thin,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. It's got some texture and some weight to it.
And I'm picking up just a touch of maybe a blackberry taste. Is that in
Oh
there?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
sure, absolutely, yeah. And there's no, like I said, there's no wrong answer when you're talking about what you taste, because everyone's taste buds are different. Even if there's not a stitch of blackberry in this wine, if your receptors interpret it as blackberry, then you taste blackberry, and that is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with describing it specifically like that.
I really like that.
Yeah. It's
I
really
do.
good. And here's the exciting part. So one of the things that we talk about with the traveling vineyard is we pair wine with food. And so we have some pizza to try and a little bit of chocolate. We have a little bit of chocolate cupcake too going on. So when you go to taste food with wine, there's definitely a process, because what you want to notice is, how does it taste before and how does it taste after? Because what you're basically going to do is coat your taste buds with the wine, and then you're going to add a little bit of the food, chew it up, and get that incorporated with what you've already put down on your taste buds, and then you're going to try the wine again. So it's sip, taste the food, and then sip again.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of wine in our glass, so we're going to take another sip of the wine.
Oh, that's good.
It's
That's
so
really
tasty.
good.
I'm just blown away. And then we're going to take a little bite of our food here.
By the way, this is Pizza King, a Central Indiana tradition.
Royal feast, baby. A little bit of silence while we chew our food. And then taste the wine again. And notice the difference
Wow.
between the pre-food wine and the wine after you taste the food.
That's amazing.
Can you describe what it tasted like?
You know what?
To you?
I'm going to take another bite of pizza.
Okay.
This is fun.
Isn't it a blast? I love doing tastings, especially with people that aren't familiar with wine very much. I mean, you may know what you like as far as wine goes, but to slow down and take the time to think about it, it really enhances the experience.
Okay. So when we sipped the wine before eating anything, it was very bright. The blackberry flavor came through. The fruit jam flavor came through.
Right.
After I ate the pizza, it's darkened it up a lot to me. It almost gave it a little bit of an earthy flavor.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's what kind of barrel that it may have been aged in, but the earthy flavor I like.
Mm-hmm. I caught some herbs and spices that weren't there before. Uh, it definitely mutes the fruit
Right.
flavor. It doesn't flatten it by any means, but you get a completely different flavor palette almost
Yes.
when you eat something more savory with the wine.
Right.
So anyway,
So should we try the same thing with chocolate?
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely want to do this because this is just such a classic pairing, chocolate and red wine. And so this will be a very interesting
So chocolate
just a
cupcake
little chocolate
with
cupcake.
little sprinkles on. Sprinkles are for winners.
Sprinkles are for winners, right?
So we do the same thing, right?
Yep, exactly. Do the same thing. Now, if you were at a winery or something, you may have something in between. Although I will say, this is personal opinion, a lot of times they give you oyster crackers. Oyster crackers have salt in them. They have sodium. And to me, that also has an effect on the taste of the wine. So even though you're cleansing your palate with a soda cracker, you're actually adding sodium, which is a flavor enhancer, to your mouth. So, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to the just give me the wine. I'll figure it out. And it'll take care of itself. But anyway, go ahead and talk about what you.
So I took a sip.
Mm-hmm.
I took some chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting. I really liked the texture and flavor of the wine after the pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't crazy about it after the chocolate. It seemed maybe the chocolate overwhelmed the taste buds in my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't taste the wine. It just was like liquid in my mouth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what about you? What did
Yeah.
you find?
I liked the enhancement of the chocolate with the fruit on the wine. It's definitely, the cupcake is sweeter than the wine for sure because it's a dry wine. I think maybe if we had a piece of like dark chocolate or milk chocolate
Right.
without all the extra stuff, that might have been a more accurate representation
Right,
of,
right.
of chocolate with wine.
The sprinkles may have pushed us over the
Could
edge.
be. Too many sprinkles spoil the pot.
So there you go. So let's talk about this for a minute. Thank you all for sticking around for a longer than usual video. The de-alcoholized Cabernet Sauvignon from Ariel. Again, we got this at Total Wine and More in Indianapolis. This is your first time trying non-alcoholic wine,
It
right?
is, yeah. It is.
Generally favorable impression?
Yeah, I thought it was very good. The one thing that I am missing is the bite, but overall, as far as the wine goes, it has a very good flavor. It pairs well with the food, and ultimately, that's the main thing. If you're going to enjoy a bottle of wine with food, you want to enjoy it. So I thought it was a success for sure.
Yes. And I would say, not being a wine guy, I really liked it. Some of the non-alcohol beers I have tried still have the bite of the alcohol. They perfected that. I'm not sure if it's a wine thing.
Well, I think what they use, I mean, the hops
Oh, of course.
are bitter and have a bite
Yes.
regardless of what you add to it.
Right, right.
So that may be the flavor component.
Right. But that said, I think we will just start keeping some non-alcoholized wine on hand here
Sure.
when I want to have something with dinner.
Right. Absolutely.
And don't want to drink alcohol. And we'll try some other brands too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there were actually several brands available, and I just picked one randomly. I picked the mid-range as far as the price goes. They all had Cabernet Sauvignons. I think that's a very popular type of wine. So that grape is pretty common and recognizable and popular. So all of them had that. So I picked the mid-range price one, and we just went with that.
awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. This is the last dry January review because today is Saturday, January the 30th. And it's coming in February. I'll be back to doing food reviews and so on. But I'm sure I'll throw some non-alcoholic brews either wine or beer in from time to time. But hope you've enjoyed the dry January journey. Holly, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it so
My
much.
pleasure.
So this is Mr. Tenderloin.
And Mrs. Tenderloin.
We'll see you next time.